Hello and welcome to Spardha Lines, your one-stop destination for the civil services preparation, UPSC, KPSC and other relevant examinations. Today we will try and understand couple of important articles. We have picked up one of the important articles which is important from disaster management perspective, which is in your GS paper 3. We will discuss one article from the mains perspective, but we have more number of articles lined up for you from the preliminary examination point of view. Let us try and understand what are these articles in greater detail. So the first article is speaking about are natural disasters man-made. This article is important from your GS3 perspective, which is your disaster management. What is this article speaking about? The article in general is speaking about anthropogenic induced factors. It takes into example couple of cities, let's say for example Mumbai, Delhi, Bengaluru, Chennai, Hyderabad, so on and so forth, where there is massive urbanization that is taking place. Because of this massive urbanization that is taking place, the city is not able to withstand the pressure because there are more number of people coming to these cities, and as a result what we are witnessing is massive scale of flooding, and the infrastructure is not able to keep up to this particular population density. And added to it, it also makes a reference to a couple of other scenarios in the Himalayan region, the construction of the dams, the construction of the road activities, and how this has created a chaos and a devastation to couple of regions across the length and breadth of the country. Let us try and understand what is the author trying to convey. The authors in this particular case go on to say that what we are witnessing in the state of Himachal Pradesh, in the state of Uttarakhand, is excessive rainfall that is occurring because of the anthropogenic human induced factors. We did discuss about the Himachal Pradesh floods recently. We also discussed about Uttarakhand floods as well. What are the primary reasons? One is because of the western disturbances. What are these western disturbances? Disturbances that are occurring in the western part in the Mediterranean Sea, where because of the massive pressure variations, these winds blow, they also carry the moisture as well, and as they come, because of the Himalayas, these waves are blocked and the moisture laden winds bring rainfall to the Himachal Pradesh as well as Uttarakhand. This is one of the reasons. The other reason is also because of the cloud burst. What is this cloud burst? If a particular area where, let's say for example, there is a lot of mountains, so on and so forth, so whenever there is excessive rainfall that occurs within a small pocket of area, excessively in that locality, is what is called as the cloud burst. So there is massive opening up of the rain, and this rain occurs within a considerable period of time, short period of time, excessively, is what is called as the cloud burst. Are these cloud bursts because of the climate change? We did discuss as well that these cloud bursts could be because of the anthropogenic induced factors. It could be because of anthropogenic induced factors, and it can also be without it as well. So what are the reasons given in the earlier sections? When we look at anthropogenic induced factors, what exactly is happening? We have afforestation which should be done, but we are going through deforestation. We are constructing massive number of roads. We did discuss recently in our Chardham project as well. We have the Chardham project that is initiated by the state government and the central government, where there is wide roads that are built. Why? Because to promote tourism. Why? Because we have to provide employment opportunities. But this has to be kept in line with other activities as well, and that is sustainable development, and that is what is called as keeping the future also in the mindset. But since we are not doing that, this is ultimately resulting in what is called as natural disasters in the northern part of India. So in the northern part of India, like the Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, we did discuss that what we have is western disturbances which has created flood-like situations, and this could also be because of the cloud burst as well, and all of this is because of the climate change induced factors, and this is increased in the past 1 century, all because of industrial revolution. So because of the industrial revolution, there is significant release of the greenhouse gases, and this has caused significant damage, which is why what we have is torrential rains which is impacting the northern part. And next the author speaks about is in reference to the Arctic region. Again, we did discuss recently about the northern a route that we have taken with respect to Russia, how India is wanting to become part of the Nordic region. So what's happening in the Arctic region is that because of the climate change, because of the anthropogenic induced factors, the glaciers are melting. As the glaciers start melting, there is temperature variation. This temperature variation means that increase of the temperature will also result in the glaciers melting, and when they start melting, because of the anthropogenic induced factors, this could ultimately result in flooding of the oceans, which means to say that there is increase of the oceanic water, and all the coastal regions that are present may get submerged in the near future. This could also result in problems to the diversity, the biodiversity which are present in the Arctic region, and it can also lead to death of couple of species as well. So why is this occurring in the Arctic region? That is because a lot of greenhouse gases are being emitted. This has increased the temperature over a period of time, and this is ultimately resulting in disasters. Yes, these are disasters, but this has been given a push by the human induced factors. The author next takes into picture couple of cities and also gives the example as well. Let's say for example we have cities like Bengaluru, or let's say the cities like Mumbai, or the city like Delhi. Delhi is also one of the cities which is known as the gas chamber. Why is it called as the gas chamber? That is because of the pollution. In fact, when there are embassy people, let's say for example people from another country who are posted in Delhi in the embassy of respective countries, they are also provided allowance as well, pollution allowance. For example, a country like Norway, if it is sending its ambassadors or its people to Delhi, they are also provided pollution allowance as well. Such is the case. Why is Delhi going through it? It's because of poor planning. Let's say for example we take the example of Bengaluru. There is a common saying in Bengaluru that you don't measure the distance of a place from source to the destination by the kilometer or by miles, but it is measured in time. How? You ask a person what is the time that you require to, you ask a person what is the distance between location A to location B. If he is a Bangalorean who has been living in that particular area for a very long period of time, he won't tell you the distance that it is 1 kilometer or 2 kilometer. Instead, he'll say that this person will reach from source A, that is from destiny A to destiny B, in about so and so period. So distance is measured in time in Bengaluru, all because of the massive traffic that is present. Why is traffic present in Bangalore? That is because of poor planning. That is because of excessive urbanization. That is because of the migration that is taking place. Couple of cities, couple of regions of India to Bengaluru. So all the metropolitan cities like Hyderabad, Bengaluru, Chennai, Mumbai, Delhi are witnessing massive pollution, and at the same time there is density of the population which is increasing, and this has ultimately resulted in massive chaos in the urban planning. So because of the poor planning, because they are not able to maintain and sustain it, this has resulted in chaos, and it has resulted in disasters as well. What are these disasters that we speak of? Let's go back to the year 2005 in Mumbai. Excessive rainfall happens. So because the city is not able to withstand it, what could happen? There will be excessive floods. The roads will not be able to take it. There is inundation of the water. This could ultimately result in city not withstanding the floods, and as a result it creates a devastation to the people. So if we speak about a certain section of the people, some sections of the population are more vulnerable. These people do not have other avenues as well. Water enters their area. In fact, sewage water enters their places as well. And such is the pathetic condition of our cities with poor planning. So these are built on the floodplains. There are encroached water bodies, and planned our cities without thinking about the sustainability. What could happen 10 years down the lane, what could happen 20 years down the lane was not at all planned. In fact, the city was not even planned that it will take up so much of population as well, and this has created a massive chaos in these cities. So these cities were not meant to be developed at this scale, and because of the massive influx of the people that is taking place, they have created a human-induced anthropogenic disaster, which is once again man-made. Some landscapes have changed drastically and exceeded their carrying capacity, and this has exacerbated the extent of loss and damages in these areas. Added to it, the agencies regulating the cities are also not equipped, one on the financial terms, second on the manpower terms, third on the scientific basis as well. The other problem is there is too much of overlapping jurisdiction, and at the same time they do not know what to do. Let's say, for example, in a city like Bengaluru or in a city like Mumbai or in a city like Delhi, what would happen? There are a couple of authorities which have overlapping jurisdiction. There will be one authority which will open up the roads. They will want to put in the UGD, the underground drainage pipes and all that, and immediately after some time you will have another authority. They would have cemented the roads, they would have put the concrete, they would have also put the tars and all that, but immediately after that some other agency will come up and open the very same roads, creating an uttermost chaos. So there is no understanding between the departments. One department comes over, opens the roads, it comes up with its activities, closes the roads, and ultimately another authority comes over and does the same thing. Why not coordinate amongst these groups and ultimately come up with a concurrent plan that we will execute this particular project first, second authority will execute the project second, third authority will execute the project third. So have a clear-cut understanding between the departments, which is not happening in the instant case. So there will be one department which comes up, which will open for the electricity. There will be another department which will come up. They will say they have to provide the water connection and water facilities. There will be another set of group which will come up and they will say that this is meant for something else. So there is no understanding between these groups, and ultimately it is this which is creating the chaos, and this is the result of poor planning. When there is excessive rainfall that occurs, there is inundation of water, and because of uttermost chaos within these groups and authorities, they are not able to protect and take care of the city as well as its planning. So poor planning, taking over the floodplains. In fact, when you look at lakes as well, let me give you an example in Bengaluru as well as in Kerala. There is Belanduru Lake. People have built apartments close by saying that it is a lake view apartment. And what is this lake giving them? It is giving them pollution, because the industrial activity has been pushing in unfiltered, unregulated water into it. It has created dense fog, dense foam in this particular area. So all those people who have taken lake view apartments are ultimately getting what is called as pollution at this level. Added to it, let's go to Kerala. There were apartments. These apartments had violated some of the rules and regulations of the CRZ regulations as well. So as a result, these apartments had to be brought down. So if these are regulations that had to be taken into picture, the regulations are only on the paper, and over a period of time, because of massive corruption as well, these authorities are not able to keep a check, and these lake view apartments that are coming up in major cities are ultimately being bulldozed because they have not followed the CRZ rules and other rules established by the authorities. Let's take the example of Mumbai. Mumbai has its own planning when it comes to disaster management. Mumbai has its own disaster management agency. It has also been engaging with the Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology, which develops models to predict floods better. Also, the Brihan Mumbai Municipal Corporation Stormwater Department Drainage Department also works as well. Despite all this, it is yet not able to come up with a precise planning. What are the other issues the author speaks of? The author says that finding cheaper land, filling the water bodies, removing paleo channels. What are these paleo channels? These are deep underground stores of groundwater, and we are destroying the natural drainage system as well. So if there is a particular area where there is a natural drainage system, we occupy that drainage system. This will be filled up with landfill as well. There are areas where there is massive development taking place, and as a result, in and around the water bodies, the industrial bodies immediately start dumping their waste as well. The sewage waste will be dumped in this particular area, then you will also have unregulated water coming into this particular area, and as a result we are also destroying the natural drainage system as well. So how will, when there is a flood, this excessive water come to this particular lake? The very idea of lakes is that when there is excessive water or flooding that is resulting in a particular place, the flow will come to this lake and ultimately it is acting as a safeguard. But we are gobbling the lakes that are present in the city in the name of real estate mafia. If you look at couple of lakes in Bengaluru or in Chennai for that matter, either they are polluted or these were the lakes once upon a time, but now what you have is huge apartments that are built on these lake beds. So we want lake view apartments, but then we do not understand the larger issues of sustainability and the future course of action. Today we build these apartments on the lakes, and when they are flooded, when they are inundated, and when there's water into their houses, we start gobbling, we start shouting, we start clamoring that this is the region that is not planned, because it is the very same region which was once upon a time a lake bed, a lake, but now they have become these residential apartments. Added to it, the author takes into picture what is happening in the Himalayan circles. The author says that we have built a new highway in the mountainous region of the Himalayas. The risk is underestimated in all these areas. What do we understand by this? We have had significant impacts in the past. Some of the lessons that we can learn should have been learned as well, but we do not understand and learn from the lessons from the past. Instead, if there is an activity that has happened, let's say for example 2 to 3 years, we should have learned, we should have understood, but then we also construct the roads. We fail to understand what could be the possible future references or the future disasters. We underestimate the disaster as well, and added to it, we do not take a particular picture of the past and the future, and it is the people, loss of lives, loss of the economy which is taking place. Then there is complete record that informs planners about the current and the upcoming disasters, and this is not getting updated over a period of time. And in the Himalayan territory there is very limited understanding because of the inadequate observational network. In fact, the number of rainfall recording stations in Himalayas are very less. This also needs to increase as well. So whenever you have to come up and plan whether there will be a flood, whether there will be a cloudburst, what we require is advanced scientific tools and technology. This advanced scientific tools and technology will require a constant updation of the equipments in that particular place as well. So when the observational network, when the record stations, when the required tools is not updated over a period of time, this could further rake up the issues. So what is the way forward? The authors go down to say that we have to go by the sustainable developmental goals. So this has to be implemented. What we require is careful urban planning, creating roads and streets. Keeping these in mind, we cannot have quick fix solutions as well. So what we have to think of is the long-term risk assessment, vulnerability assessment, understand how socio-economic drivers are worsening the problem in certain communities compared to others in the city, and only when we have a concurrent planning, we would be able to reduce these disasters. We can also bring in experts from both private and the public agencies, and you will have good solutions on the table, current and modern ways of understanding the scale of disaster. So bringing all kinds of people, bottom up approach. It is not just the top down approach. Asking the people, taking their opinion, seeking their expertise will help, and further we would be able to reduce these kind of disasters. Yes, these are the man-made disasters which has also created a large scale chaos. So in order to overcome these issues, these measures have to be taken, is what is this article all about. Now let's look into the next article. This article here is speaking about historical perspective. What does it speak about? It speaks about one of the important personalities, which happens to be Sri Narayana Guruji. Where is Sri Narayana Guruji from? He is from the state of Kerala. Who is he? He happens to be a philosopher. He happens to be a social reformer. He happens to be a person who brought massive reforms on the caste front in the state of Kerala. He is worshipped. He is taken as a role model in the state of Kerala. Who is Narayana Guruji? He led a reform movement against the injustice in the caste-ridden society of Kerala in order to promote spiritual enlightenment and social equality. Casteism was practiced in Kerala during the 19th and the early 20th centuries, and the lower caste people such as Elavas and the untouchable caste like the Periyas, tribals and Pulayas had to suffer discrimination from the upper caste community. So Guru, that is Narayana Guruji, was able to reform. He said that this idea of caste system should ultimately be annihilated, thrown into the dustbins, and he promoted what is called as equality of the people. In order to promote equality of the people on the basis of humanity, he has published number of works as well. Guru published 45 works in Malayalam, Sanskrit and Tamil languages, which include Atmopadesha Satakam, a 100-verse spiritual poem, and Daiva Dasakam, a universal prayer in 10 verses. So remember, Atmopadesha Satakam and Daiva Dasakam are some of the works that has been written by Guru Narayana Guruji. In 1888, he visited Arvipuram, where he meditated for a while, and during his stay there, he consecrated a piece of rock taken from the river as the idol of God Shiva, which has since become the Arvipuram Shiva temple. In 1913, he founded Advaita Ashram at Aluva. This was an important event in his spiritual quest. This ashram was dedicated to a great principle, Om Sahasran Sarvata. All men are equal in the eyes of God. Guru organized an all-religion conference in 1923 at Alave Advaita Ashram, which was reported to be the first such event in India. It was an effort to counter the religious conversions Elava community which they were susceptible to. It was he who propagated the idea, the motto, that is one caste, one religion, one God for all, which means Oru Jati, Oru Madam, Oru Daivam, Manushyan, which has become popular as a saying in Kerala. Let's go back to the Vedas. This was also a call which was given by a social reformer. Who gave this call? Let's go back to the Vedas is what you have to put on the comment section. Similarly, what we have is Guru Narayana Guruji, who has given this call, that is one caste, one religion and one God, and this can prospectively be asked in your preliminary examination as well. Now let's look into the next article. This article here is speaking about National Investigation Agency. The National Investigation Agency is very important topic from your GS paper 3, which happens to be from the internal security front. The National Investigation Agency happens to be a specialized counter-terrorism law enforcement agency in India. Where is it headquartered? It is headquartered in New Delhi. Why did it come into picture? Let's go back to the year 2008. What we had was one of the attacks which India never imagined. The 26/11 terror attack in Mumbai, where hundreds of people were killed. So at that particular moment, what we had was a major problem. What was a major problem? That you have law and order, which happens to be a state subject. But what if there is a terrorist attack? So in this particular case, should the central agency seek the permission of the state governments? So this whole bureaucratic red tape itself will take a lot of time. So in order to overcome this particular issue, after 26/11, let's say there is a terrorist attack, this has to be found out who created this particular pattern, who was behind this particular pattern, who wanted to sabotage this entire place, who wanted to create terrorist activities and infuse fear in the kind of the people. An agency was required, and this agency, called the National Investigation Agency, will not require the permission from the state government to investigate the root cause analysis of this terrorist activity. So the agency happens to be the National Investigation Agency, which was established immediately after this 2008 heinous attack. So the agency came into existence with the enactment of the National Investigation Agency Act of 2008 by the Parliament of India on 31st December 2008, which was passed after the deadly 26/11 terror attack in Mumbai. So what is this attack all about? This happened in 2008. Since 2008, what we felt was that we require one body which need not have to take the permission from the state government every time it makes an investigation, because law and order happens to be a subject of the state. In order to prevent this bureaucratic red tape, in order to expedite and understand the root cause analysis of the terrorism, who has created this chaos, We required one agency, and that agency which will investigate at the national level happens to be the National Investigation Agency. The agency is empowered to deal with investigation of terrorist crimes across the state without special permission from the states under the written proclamation from the Ministry of Home Affairs. And do note, whenever there is a national investigation agency which is investigating it, this will also have to go to the courts as well. So what we have is special courts that are established. These special courts ultimately will expedite this entire process, fast track the cases, and will ultimately convict those individuals who are involved in this entire process. So what would happen? There is a terrorist attack that takes place. Immediately National Investigation Agency steps into picture. The National Investigation Agency will file an FIR. It will see what is the root cause of this particular analysis, which is the terrorist organization that is looking into it, which was a terrorist organization which was involved in the planning as well, and ultimately they will take them to the court. Courts are the special courts that are established as part of the National Investigation Act. Where any question arises as to the jurisdiction of any special court, it shall be referred to the central government, whose decision in the matter shall be final. So whether it is a special court or not, that will be decided by the central government, and its decision is final in itself. So if there is a question, if such and such court which is being set up, which is a special court, can it have the jurisdiction or not? If a question like that arises, the central government will decide it, and that will be the final, which is once again important from the preliminary examination point of view. Another important pointer is which are the areas which the National Investigation Agency looks into. The National Investigation Agency primarily looks into what is called as the scheduled offences. Let's say for example, the Explosive Substances Act, Atomic Energy Act, Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, Anti-Hijacking Act, Suppression of the Lawful Acts Against Safety of Civil Aviation Act, SARC Convention, Suppression of the Terrorism Act, Suppression of the Unlawful Acts Against Safety of Maritime Navigation and Fixed Platforms on Continental Shelf Act, Weapons of Mass Destruction and the Delivery Systems Act, any other relevant offences under the Indian Penal Code, Arms Act and Information Technology Act, Narcotics, Drug and Psychotropic Substances Act. So all these acts that are mentioned in the schedule, they can look into and they can also investigate. In fact, we also have some of the areas that were added as part of 2019 amendments. So we have the NIA Act. It had a significant changes that was made in the year 2019. So in this, they will also be able to investigate about human trafficking, circulation of fake currency, manufacture and sale of prohibited arms, as well as cyber terrorism. So the National Investigation Agencies can look into all these scheduled laws. And do note, for the National Investigation Agencies, you will have people from the Indian Police Service, Indian Revenue Service, who will be taken on deputation, and they will be working for the NIA. Prior to the 2019 amendments, we had the National Investigation Agency, which was able to look into whether a terrorist activities has occurred only within India. But the amendments also meant that NIA would be able to probe terror attacks targeting Indians and Indian interests abroad. So there is a government office that is present outside the country. If there is any issue for this government operations, if there is any issue with respect to how terrorism activities attack the government interests in another country, all this can also be investigated by the National Investigation Agency. But do note, such will also be going in hand with the treaties as well as protocols with a foreign agency. It is not just India would be able to investigate it, but we will also have treaties and protocols that we should have entered with another country for the investigation in the foreign country. And the central government may also designate special courts as Sessions Court as special courts for the trial of scheduled offences. Prior to 2019 amendments, only special courts were to be created for the NIA cases, but after 2019 amendment, if there is session court, this session court can also be tagged as special court for the trial of the scheduled offences. These are some of the important pointers from the mains as well as the preliminary examination point of view, and it is very important for your GS paper 3 internal security. Now let's look into the next article. This article is important from the preliminary examination point of view. What are we speaking about? We are speaking about Mangyu temple. Remember, Mangyu temple happens to be a 12th century temple. Where is it? It is in Ladakh. So the Mangyu temple complex is located in the village of Mangyu, which is in Ladakh. The architectural conservation of all temples and chapels and conservation of paintings of Shakyamuni temple are being carried out by Architectural and Material Heritage Divisions of the Delhi chapter of the Indian National Trust for Art and Cultural Heritage. So remember, the Mangyu temple is in Ladakh, and this complex is safeguarded by INTAC. The Indian National Trust for Art and Cultural Heritage happens to be a non-profit organization which was set up in 1984. To involve its members in protecting and conserving India's vast natural built and cultural heritage. INTAC has pioneered the conservation and preservation of not just our natural and built heritage but also intangible heritage. These 2 pointers that we just discussed could be very, very important from the preliminary examination point of view. In 2007, the United Nations awarded INTAC a special consultative status with United Nations Economic and the Social Council. These are some of the important pointers from the preliminary examination point of view. One is with respect to the temple complex. It is in Ladakh. The second is with respect to INTAC. It happens to be a non-profit organization which was set up in 1984, and this also takes care of intangible heritage as well. Now let's look into the next article. This article here makes a reference to what is called as the super blue moon. The super blue moon, according to NASA, is a moon. It is called a super blue moon. Why is it called super? That is because it is slightly closer to the earth, which is why it is called a super, and it is blue because it was the second full moon in the month of August. So whenever we speak about moon, there are 2 points that we have to focus on. One is what is called as perigee, the other is what is called as apogee. So the point, that is the moon's point closest to the earth in the moon's elliptical orbit, is called as perigee, and the point that is farthest is called as the apogee. So what is called as a supermoon? A supermoon happens when the moon is passing through or is close to its perigee point, and that is what is called as the full moon. This happens with a new moon as well, just that it is not visible. Now what is this blue? Because the new moon to new moon cycle lasts for about 29.5 days, a time comes when the full moon occurs at the beginning of a month. For example, in the month of August, it occurred at the beginning of the month, and there are few more days as well. So within those days, you have another new moon, which is what is called as the blue. So super blue moon basically means that it is very close to perigee, and because the new moon occurs twice in that month, which is why it is, that is full moon occurs twice in that month, which is why it is called as the super blue moon. Such a month in which the full moon is seen on the 1st or 2nd of the month will have the second full moon on the 30th or 31st. So according to NASA, this happens every 2 or 3 years. So when the full moon occurs twice in a month, that is what is called as the blue moon, and if it is closest to perigee, that is the super moon. Now let's look into the next preliminary important one. The article here is speaking about World Organ Donation Day. This is observed every year on August 13th. Why? To spread awareness about the importance of organ donation and burst the myths surrounding it. Organ donation means that a person who might be living or a person might have passed away. So if a person's organ is taken off his body and is transplanted to another individual, that is what is called as organ donation. So when a person allows to surgically remove their organ and transplant it to another person, that is what is called as organ donation. This is done with the consent of the donor when they are alive, or that of their kin or their relatives when they are no more. While people can donate some organs like kidney or part of liver while they are alive, usually it's done after a person passes away. Which are the organs that can be transplanted? Liver, kidney, pancreas, lung, heart, intestine, cornea, bone tissues, and many more. The World Organ Donation Day 2023 theme is Step Up to Volunteer, Need More Organ Donors to Fill the Lacune, And which law in India regulates the organ donation in India? We have the Transplantation of the Human Organs Act 1994, which was enacted to provide a system of removal, storage and transplantation of human organs for therapeutic purposes and for the prevention of commercial dealings in the human organs. So in order to promote organ donation, the World Organ Donation Day is celebrated every year on August 13th. This can be important from the preliminary examination point of view, especially for the state PSC's examination. Now let's look into the next article. This article here is speaking about phishing attack. What exactly happens in the phishing attack? Let me explain this with the help of an example. Let's say you have an email that comes to your email ID, or let's say there is a message that comes to your phone. What does it say? Let's say there is an email ID that comes from, let's say, SBI, or let's say from your ICICI bank, or let's say from the HDFC. What does it say? It says that your account is blocked. In order to reactivate your account, you have to re-log into this particular page, so on and so forth. When this email or the message is sent to your phone, it looks like that this message is from an authenticate source. You have SBI sending you messages, you also have HDFC sending you emails and messages. So there is a particular pattern as to how HDFC or ICICI or SBI sends you an email or it sends you a message. In a similar pattern, you will have a hacker, a person who wants to take away information, drop an email or a message to your account. So you, in an apprehension that your account will be blocked and you will not be able to use it for the future course of action, what do? You click on this message or an email. So this message or an email will have a link. So you go and follow that particular link as well. So the minute you click on that link, what you will have is the website that opens up. So this website, this is the fake website, which is the phishing site, and this happens to be the authenticate website. So you would not know the differences between the authenticate website as well as the fake website. So you would assume that this is an authenticate website, the real website of that company. For example, it can be Apple as shown in the image, it can be SBI, it can be ICICI, so on and so forth. But that happens to be a fake website, not a real website. So that fake website is what is called as the phishing site. So you go on to this particular website, there will be credentials that would be given. So you have to give in your user ID. You will also have to give your password as well. So the minute you give your user ID and password, your credentials are taken away by this hacker, and he will start taking away the money from your account because you have given the credentials to the hacker. So it looks like the exact replica of the original website, but you would not be able to know because there will be minute changes. So as a result, phishing attack is that particular attack where a message or an email is sent to you, and this looks like a legitimate email, and when the victim opens the email containing the malware, or you go to that particular link, the hacker gains access to the data and he can also transfer the money immediately, which is called as phishing. So phishing is important from your GS3 perspective, which is your internal security. Now let's look into the next article. This article says Jaya Verma becomes the first woman to head railway board. This can be very important from your preliminary examination. If it is the state PSCs, remember we have Jaya Verma ji, who happens to be the first woman who becomes the head of the board in its 118 years history. If it is state PSC, for sure this question will come up in your state PSC examination, but if it is your UPSC, what could come up? It will be with respect to the appointment committee. So who are the people who are part of the appointment committee? The composition would include the Prime Minister and the Home Minister. So in the appointments committee, what we will have is the Prime Minister and the Home Minister. This is very important from the UPSC examination point of view and also from KPSC and other examination point of view as well. So the committee is composed of Prime Minister of India, ex officio chairman, and the Minister of Home Affairs. As part of the assignment, you have to put on the comment section how many cabinet committees do we have right now. That is what you have to put on the comment section. But another important pointer from the preliminary examination is all committees of the cabinet except for the Parliamentary Affairs Committee and the Cabinet Committee on Accommodation are chaired by the Prime Minister. So we have many cabinet committees. Out of all these cabinet committees, there are only 2 cabinet committees which does not include the Prime Minister. The other cabinet committees will have the cabinet Prime Minister, but these 2 cabinet committees will not have the Prime Minister, which includes Parliamentary Affairs as well as Accommodation. But for the rest of it, what we have is the Prime Minister, who is part of that particular committee. So these are important pointers from your preliminary examination. One is that we have Jaya Verma ji, who happens to become the first woman to head the railway board, first point of view. The other is the appointments committee, which will include the Prime Minister and the Home Minister. Now let's look into the next important article. The article here is speaking about Ramon Magsaysay Award. Surgical oncologist Ravi Kannan, director of Char Cancer Hospital Research Center in Assam, is one of the Ramon Magsaysay Award winners for 2023. For state PSC exams, there can be a question who was awarded in the year 2023. So it happens to be Ravi Kannan sir for the year 2023. What is the importance of this Ramon Magsaysay Award? It is an annual award. This is another important pointer. So is it biannual, is it annual, or it happens every 2 years? So it is an annual award established to perpetuate former Philippine President Ramon Magsaysay's example of integrity in governance, courageous service to the people, pragmatic idealism with a democratic society. It is often called as the Nobel Prize of Asia. The award recognizes and honors individuals and organizations in Asia regardless of race, creed, sex or nationality. There can be a way where it is not just given to Asian people, but then it can also be given to people who are from another country as well. But those people who are from a different country, not from Asia, if they are to be given, they should have contributed to the greater empowerment of Asia. So if they have contributed to the empowerment of Asia, they can also be given these awards. So when it comes to Ramon Magsaysay, he was born on August 31, 1907 to a father who worked as a blacksmith and to a mother who was a teacher. And Ramon Magsaysay Sr. was the 7th president of Philippines from 1953 until his death in air crash in 1957. So this is important once again from the awards point of view, which can be asked in your preliminary examination. So we have taken a lot of articles today from the preliminary examination point of view. Hope you will go through these articles once again after I end this session. So this is all for today. If you're liking these initiatives, please do like, share it with your fellow aspirants and subscribe to our YouTube channel. This is it for today. Thank you for watching. All the best.